Okay, hello everybody. This is the fourth review I'm doing today. Can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah. This is just what happens when I do them in bunches. So this movie was called The Waterman, which actually had a pretty good cast in it, I'm not gonna lie. And some new faces that I've never actually seen act before. So yeah, that was nice. But also, yeah, a pretty star-studded cast, I'm not gonna lie. So this is about a kid played by Lonnie Chavis Gunnar Boone, and his dad, David Oelio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Played Amos Boone or Amos Boone, right? And oh my God, why can't I never say her first name? Rosario Dawson. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then played Mary Boone, and Amaya Miller played Joe Riley. It's weird how I can say some names fine. Maria Bello played Sheriff Goodwin, and Alfred Molina played Jim Busey, I'm going to say is his name. And was it Edward Shaw that was the waterman? And then he loses his wife, Sarah, I think. I believe that was right. I'm just going to look at the photos here and just see if I'm correct in that. Because I would imagine they would have at least one photo of him. And they don't. What is it with these movies lately that have like 11 images? Okay, so I believe it was him that they were telling a story about. So this, so Gunner's mom ends up getting cancer, and he's trying to. First, he's doing research on somebody totally different. And then he decides that he's going to do research on the type of cancer his mother has. And his research takes him to. He ends up running into this girl, Jo, along the way. And she says that she's seen the Waterman. And this is, I believe, after he's talked to Jim, who has this whole story. And Gunner says, oh, yeah, it's just a ghost story. And Jim convinces him that it's not just a ghost story, and Jim has been out hunting for him, and apparently the story is that he came when he was, I think, mining for rocks. He ended up hitting this line or whatever that gave him this rock with his magical powers, and then when this flood came in, his wife Sarah died, and he ended up continuing to live on, and he's been out in this cabin by the lake ever since, and he's been searching for Sarah his entire life ever since he was saved and she wasn't, because he thinks that maybe he can bring her back. But that sounds like a very sad life, doesn't it? So he goes out into the woods in search of this Edward Shaw or Waterman, and I'm pretty sure that's who played the Waterman. If I hope I'm getting that right. Ted Rooney was the guy who played the Waterman, I do believe. I hope I'm getting that right. Anyway, so yeah, so Gunner goes out in search for the Waterman after Jo says that she's seen him, because she's trying to make up this whole story to, I guess, stay away from her dad. And then eventually she tells the truth about how she got the scar on her neck was from her father. And Gunner then realizes, I think this is after Gunner has even seen the Waterman too, because there's this huge forest fire raging in the woods, and now Amos is out trying to save Gunner from what's going to happen, and he doesn't realize that he has another girl. I guess he did realize that he had taken somebody else out there, but he was definitely searching for his son. Because I think the other girl, she turns back like 3/4 of the way through their adventure, but she ends up having to stay away from the fire, obviously, that's getting closer and closer to them, and then they end up having to swim across the lake. But so he does. It does seem like he's finally found the Waterman, but unfortunately, it was just a figment of his imagination, because I think he wanted to believe it so much And when he's seen what he's seen, even the waterman tells him that hope is one of the most powerful things of all, and he was hoping to find this rock, and the power of hope even made him see what he wanted to see, right? Which is kind of unfortunate, but also in the same sense, I guess he realizes that he is not going to be able to help his mom like he thought he was going to, and yeah, it just is unfortunate, but hopefully, obviously his mother wants him there, and I guess the parents obviously thought, like Amos and yeah, Amos and Mary thought that obviously Gunnar couldn't handle the news about what was actually happening, and I guess they really should have told him what was going on, right? Because it seemed like they were lying to one another a lot of the time, because she obviously was keeping things from Gunnar, and then Amos, after Gunnar goes missing, he keeps things from her, which is only going to, which isn't going to help her any in her recovery, because now she's just going to be worried about not only herself but her son lost in the forest, right? But luckily, Amos picks up, kind of really rallies together for them and goes out and saves his son, right? Which I think was what he needed, what Gunnar needed anyway, because I think it seemed that Gunnar and his father really kind of had like a distant relationship, and he was definitely closer to his mother. And I think even Amos could kind of sense that in a way that his that Gunnar didn't really want to be around him, which was kind of weird. But at the end of it, they do finally. I feel like they ended up connecting a lot more, because Amos tells Gunnar that he shouldn't give up on what he's doing and he should finish his story. And I guess his story ended up being more about his own adventure than anybody else's, because yes, the original research he was doing was for a cop that was trying to discover who had killed him, I believe, in the afterlife. So kind of an interesting concept, especially for a young kid to be writing about, that's for sure. And then obviously when he found out that his mother had cancer and she was sick, he tries to get the doctors, he does the research on that and tries to get the doctors to give her different medicines, but they say that it's, whatever the doctors were doing house calls, obviously it's above their, it's not their say on what she gets, right? I guess maybe was the whole thing there when he's trying to help. So then his last resort obviously is to go find this waterman that can possibly heal anything, right? Which ends up turning out to be just a figment of his imagination. But I guess what was really good was it brought them all together, including Joe, who I feel like kind of was like a love interest for him in a sense. And obviously some of the things that they saw out in the forest were really cool, including the one night scene where you can kind of see like glimpses of something moving behind him and around him. And I'm assuming that was supposed to be the waterman, because Jim had said that he had set up all these markers, these black rocks around everywhere where he had searched for the waterman himself, if I didn't already mention that. So, yeah, definitely something to go on there. And then, Joe tells the story about how she got the scar on her neck was from her father, and luckily she tells the truth, maybe a little bit too late, because they already had to be saved by that point. But I mean, it is what it is with that. I guess she didn't really want to tell her whole story, because maybe she felt like I was assuming she probably felt like she didn't want to get her father in any, like legal trouble or trouble at all, really. Because she probably still loved him, even though he was obviously abusive. And when the cop shows up to his door, he just kind of works around the questions and says that he hasn't seen Joe for a couple of days, and she just goes out and does whatever, and he goes probably hanging out where most of the kids hang out, and so it doesn't really seem like she's home much. And when she is home, he just probably disciplines her in his own way for, you know, going out and doing whatever she wants to do, and then she just rebels even further, right? So I guess that would make sense with how she's being treated at home, obviously, that she doesn't want to be there much, she wants to be out. And I guess I believe, yeah, I believe Joe's father might get arrested at the end of the movie. I'm not really sure. I can't remember if he does or not. Obviously, she's not going to be going back with her father. I think she seems to be staying with Gunner's family now, so I would imagine she's, yeah, more free to do what she wants, I would suppose. Or maybe she has like a foster family now, and she's just kind of definitely become friends with Gunner, that's for sure. But yeah, they all seem much happier by the end of the movie, and yeah, a much closer family, that's for sure. So anyway, I gave this movie an 8 out of 10 rating, which is pretty low compared to the rating it got, 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb. But I mean, that's only 4,000 people, 4,000 people rating it. So I would say this is kind of like a fantasy type movie. So I think you kind of have to really be, yeah, we really have to grasp your interest from just the trailer in order to even want to watch this movie, or maybe just the cover might have done it for me, because I wasn't really sure what this would be about. I thought maybe it was going to be more horror based, possibly, but it ended up being quite a bit different from what I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. Yeah, but really great acting in this movie, for being probably, I would say, a little bit maybe lower budget of a film. Um, I don't really want to say it was. I don't think it was just a Netflix film itself, though. Like, it's just one of those ones that's kind of like, again, I feel like this could probably be another one that's just a hidden gem on Netflix. Definitely only because it seems that only 4,000 people have rated it on here, so I imagine not many people have watched it, but I would say this is definitely one of the ones that I would recommend more first before some of the other ones that I previously watched. And that's just based on my rating, 8 out of 10, I would say. Uh, Other than that, yeah, I think I pretty much covered the entire story, and yeah, um, if you like if you like fantasy movies, and I guess this could be a good family movie too, I suppose, because yeah, yeah, I would say it would be a good family movie for a family movie night. The the only thing that I would say was, yeah, like maybe he seemed over dramatic about certain things. The kid sometimes, like, um, yeah, like seeing his mom for the first time. I mean, I guess that would make sense. Seeing his mom without hair for the first time might scare him a little bit, because obviously he doesn't really know the full extent of what's happening. But I mean, the whole like not being able to swim thing when his dad's there to help him, I was like, okay, that one scene was just so overdramatic. I was like, okay, well, they probably could have calmed it down on the crying for this part. But anyway, that was maybe the only one thing that I was like, oh my God, seriously, like just get in the water, get on your dad's back and swim. Like, don't make him burn up in the fire too. Good Lord. um, yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's it for this review, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.